Do all of us wonder about this question? Will AI replace humans? Notice this, something is wrong with this question.
If a writer for 5 drafts is going to be paid, let's say, 50 lakh. If 4 drafts are done by AI and you ask me to do 1 draft, then I'm being paid 10 lakh. You see? So in that sense, for those 4 drafts, you replaced me.
Yeah, thank you. I had come from Pune. I met Asha Aziz and Lataji's musician. So he was on the road on the bicycle. So I asked him what happened. He said, see, now I'm not getting any jobs because of light.
What are the chances that if I input something in the AI, which is 100% original, but after putting it over there, it doesn't remain with me?
अभी जैसे AI टेक्नोलॉजी हमारे डे टू डे बेसिस पे यूज़ करने के लिए आया है, वैसे डार्क वेब पे भी AI टेक्नोलॉजी यूज़ हो रहा है क्या?
There is no chance that people on dark web would leave
So
it.
वहाँ पे तो सेफ नहीं होंगे ना? फिर
बिल्कुल
हम
भी
लोग।
safe नहीं है।
हाँ, because they are not going to follow any rules or law.
Yes, you're right. There is a problem. As someone who has to play with AI as a part of my job, I am at risk of, if Terminator decides one day that I don't like Nivedan anymore, I am screwed.
Nivedan साहब, थैंक यू वेरी मच. आप आते हो यहाँ हमारे कहने पर और ये वर्कशॉप करते हो, आप SWA पे एक एहसान करते हो और उसके लिए हम तहे दिल से शुक्रिया अदा करते हैं. आखिर में तो ऑफकोर्स जमासर बहुत खुल के आपका शुक्रिया अदा करेंगे, बट पर्सनली सिंस आई एम द वन हु कॉन्टैक्टेड यू, सो माय पर्सनल थैंक्स टू बिगिन विद. Okay, here we go. Nivedan Rathi is the founder of Future and AI, which is India's largest and fastest growing Gen AI, matlab generative AI community and ecosystem for founders, investors, innovators and learners. Nivedan also serves as an angel investor and business strategy advisor for many early stage startups, leveraging his experience as a product leader and founding member of multiple tech startups. He previously held the role of business and marketing head at Meesho. He is an alumnus of IIT Bombay from 2014. So without further ado, Mr. Nivedan Rathi, I please invite you and welcome you to the stage.
Check. Is this working? Okay. Thank you so much, Anjum sir. This means a lot. As someone who's the furthest from filmmaking, I would not ever imagine that I would be speaking to a bunch of filmmakers, artists. I've done that a few times now in smaller setups, and that's all because of you right now. Before we go on and talk about the topics today, I'd actually give you a little bit of backdrop, right? So Anjum sir has a mentee, Sarika, and she is a dear friend of mine for the last almost nearly a decade. And whenever I come to Mumbai, she's the one who hosts me. She has and she's a very kind person to, kind of get me to meet all her friends. And one of them happened to be you. So I remember I was having breakfast at her place and she was having a Zoom call with you, which is when she just mentioned, okay, there's a friend of mine, Nivedan, who's here. He's an AI expert. I don't call myself an AI expert, but other people call me as that. And Anjum sir, you probably made some remark on what AI could mean for artists and you had some concerns. And I made a passing remark in there. I just got into the Zoom call and I made a passing remark that, you know what, I actually have the complete opposite view. I think writers are the biggest ones to win on this. And this is a kind of a ridiculous statement I made because on the surface, it looks like if AI copies our work, right, which it can to an extent, we don't know how much, that we're not going to talk about, but it does have the potential to act or imitate us fairly well. And there are genuine risks around that. I will not deny it. But there is other side of what it means for writers, for directors, and probably in the presentation, we may talk about filmmaking and artists in general, but you can see it from the writer's lens all the time. I think it's going to be actually dissolving the power imbalance that is there in the industry. And that is what I hope one of the takeaways that you have by the end of this session is where your concerns around plagiarism, around copyrights, I think a lot of them will not be answered by saying that it'll all be protected. They'll all be addressed by knowing the fact that you have greater power in your hands than ever before. And this power imbalance के जितने भी maladies हैं वो सारे के सारे they can be taken care of better. So I won't reveal all of it right now, but yeah, let me kick this off. First of all, thank you so much again. I want to get a sense of where we stand today, right? I see roughly 150 people have showed up, and it's a Friday afternoon, which is not even a weekend. So if you've come here, then you definitely have certain curiosity, certain experiences with AI. So what I would like to start off with is to get a sense of किसने क्या क्या चीज़ें AI में ट्राई करी हैं, any tools. For example, let's start with ChatGPT. यहाँ पे कितने लोगों ने ChatGPT यूज़ कर लिया है? Great. किसने बिल्कुल नहीं यूज़ किया है? बिल्कुल भी नहीं. Never logged in, never signed up, never practically spoken to it. Okay. So a small fraction has not tried it, right? And you don't need to know कि ChatGPT क्या है, generative AI क्या है. I will make all of that very simple. I'll introduce this concept in a very simple manner, which will make it very digestible ki, okay, I have a grip on this. The idea is this: we fear what we don't understand, right? All of us fear what we don't understand, and that is evident across all our behavior, starting with a tiny little pet dog. I'm sure one of you at least here is afraid of a small little Shih Tzu as well, but only because you don't understand the behavior, what it can do. In the same way, if we understand what AI is, what it can do, what it cannot, we at least would stop fearing it, and then we'll move on from there to the next stage of saying, okay, now that I understand, what can I do with it? How do I mitigate some of the concerns that stem out of it? So these are the kinds of conversations we'll have in the first half of the session today, where we'll define what AI is. We'll become aware of what is happening in the industry. I'll give a quick recap, ताकि जो लोग एकदम नए हैं, पहले हम recap से start करेंगे, क्या-क्या चीजें नई आ गई हैं. अच्छा, this is not visible by the way. Yes. We'll try and visualize the future together. कि what does it mean for filmmaking in general and specific to writers. So that is an exercise that I'll need a support from all of you here. I am not a filmmaker, I'm not a storyteller. I will have my own blinders on. So I will try and make sure that all of us can bring a certain perspective. Have questions, please raise your hand in the middle of it, completely fine. And we'll keep taking a few pauses here and there. And जहाँ पे storytelling and filmmaking का perspective ज़्यादा चाहिए, I would request all of the audience members here, the SWA members here to address those questions from your lens also. Not everything is about technology, and we will definitely not make it about it. So these are the topics that we are going to talk about. Quick recap, and then there's a very interesting paradigm I want to bring, जो usually helps you get an immediate grip on what it is. We'll cover a showcase of the latest research, the latest tools that are out there in the market. क्या-क्या चीजें possible है वो देखेंगे. उन possibilities से हम future को imagine करेंगे. And then finally, we will talk about the ethical issues and the dangers. There are real dangers to a powerful technology like AI. And to give you a hint, right now it is touted as the world's most, one of the riskiest things that is out there. I want to start off by accepting this fact. It is accepted as one of the riskiest technologies that we've ever built. And this is not about filmmaking, this is not about business, this is not about technology. It's just as a whole to build a super intelligent being which is not human. Think about it, right? None of us want aliens invading us in hordes. And you could actually very easily as storytellers imagine a world where if there is another being, that being may look like CPU, it may look like a bunch of chips, but it is a being if it can think. It is a being if it can sense and move. So we have to ask this question, and it's now more imperative to look at it as a challenge for mankind, that how do we face this challenge? And this is more urgent than climate change. So I want to lay out the big warning first. We'll talk about a lot of optimistic things. There are. But there is actually something that all of us should educate ourselves about. कि अगर climate change के लिए हम worried थे ना, तो इसके लिए थोड़ा ज़्यादा worried होने की ज़रूरत है, because it's moving faster than the earth is changing. So with that, a little bit of black, white, and gray. I'm going to make a small bit of promise. We've seen South Park, right? I love this guy. So if this is how we feel about AI right now, by the end of this session, this is something I can promise. You will feel very confident about what it is and what you can do with it. Okay. So with a quick show of hands and thoughts here, what is the first word that comes to your mind when you hear the word AI? सुनते ही first चीज क्या pop हो रही है? We have some mics as well, but you can show, like, shoot it out. Chat GPT, okay. Check. Fast. Check. Transformation, intelligence, adaptability, assistant. What else? What else? Bring out the best and the worst that comes to your mind. Ridiculous. Evil. Wow. Okay. Fair enough. Rise of the machine. The Matrix. You're the lawyer here. Yeah, sorry. Not original. Fair enough. Sam Altman. That is very interesting. Yes, he's become synonymous. Clones, robots. Information. Can someone turn this on? Hello, hello, hello. The red button is not working. Check, check, check. So these, I think we have a sense of what we associate AI with, right? For example, is it working now? Check, check. Yeah. So for example, now we all are talking about AI, but the fact is AI as a concept is there since 1950s. As a concept, people have been studying AI in their books. It was only mathematicians who would study about AI, but nobody had the technology, which is what we call as compute. Basically not fast enough CPUs. वो नहीं थे, तो आपकी जो logics थे of how I could one day build an AI system is very old. 1950s. They all said, tab the computer of this size of room would do as much as your calculator can do today. Calculator, not your mobile, by the way. Not mobile calculator. That is far intelligent. So that era, to imagine like AI, something like AI was impossible. So people said, you know what, this is all theory. This will never happen. Come on. So now, a billion times smaller chip than this is actually, like that computer, is a billion times faster. So billion multiplied by billion level difference dekh liya humanity in terms of compute, and that's why we have AI. So that is the secret ingredient to this, which is we have infinite compute available at our hands, which is one of the most ridiculous things a lot of scientists are still struggling to have a grip with. So this is what AI looks like. Okay, let's try and guess. अब थोड़ा सा यहाँ पे blur हो गया, I think, because of screen size. But if with a quick shout out again, which of these do you think is AI and which one is real? I know it's not a great resolution. You saying right? Right is AI. Which guys, quickly, right, left, shout it out. If you have to take time to think, AI has won. Right, okay, right. Majority is for right. Anyone says left? Both, okay. Let's see the next one. This one. Left or right? Left. The light in that looks more impressive, है ना? Okay, so more towards left. 1 second. Yes, we have two models here. One of them is AI generated. Light thoda kam karenge, please. Thank you. So left. How many people for left? How many people for right? Both. Got it. Some of you got my trick questions. All of these were AI. So far. Everything was AI. Okay. So that's the point, right? It was meant to be a trick exercise. It's to highlight the fact that if I prime you to believe one is real, you cannot distinguish what is AI. So that's how good it has gotten, right? So आज से 1 साल पहले ऐसा था, नहीं I can catch what is Midjourney. हाँ, AI में थोड़ा सा दिख जाता है ऐसा कि कुछ तो गड़बड़ है. उसका है ना वो थोड़ा सा एक element. Nobody could word it out कि क्या गलत, क्या अलग है. But really, I can sense when it's a robot. Unfortunately, those days are long gone. You cannot. You simply cannot. There are AI models who are making $100,000 a month by sponsorships on Instagram. They're not real people. It's some guy sitting in some backyard running this lady. Her name is Aitana. She's a Spanish or virtually Spanish model. So that's where we are, right? So this is a quick recap and catch up of what's been happening. And look at, I want to highlight the pace of progress here. We've all known of Midjourney, right? Midjourney, how many people have generated a few images? Got it, very handful. Not someone who's not like even tried one prompt also on Midjourney or ever attempted it. So like, okay, ChatGPT, a lot of people have, or Midjourney, DALL-E, anything actually, any of these, right? So you are yet to see that, but this is where it started. Version 1 was February 2022. This is how bad it was. I mean, back then people were crazy about this also, कि इतना भी बन गया है, but no filmmaker would ever be impressed by this, right? Look at the increments that we are seeing, and 5.1 is still a little old. I didn't even had the space to update the latest one because it's a very small one. But the latest one is even better. Like V6 point something is there. So this is the pace of progress within a year and a half now, or this is a year almost. Why? Yes. Oh yeah. Seems like 2023 hoga wo. Correct. So this is one example. I'll show another one. When it was prompted the exact same thing about they had a girl with a sun falling on her face. Karke. This is what the girl originally looked like. Worse than an embryo, right? Forget a human. And this is where it has progressed. Now look at the freckles here. Right? The lighting as well, it's become softer as if she's in a studio maybe. Those are things you can control in a prompt. But the exact same prompt shows you the evolution here. Right? Nobody's modified the prompt. This is what the difference is within 1 year, 1.5 years. And we had basically, none of us spoke about this in 2022, right? And only 2023, you see such a big difference. So imagine where we are headed next, correct? At least we can sense the momentum of change here. Here is Sora. How many of you have not heard of Sora? Let's start with that. Sora, okay, so there are a few people who are new to Sora. I want to show you a video to showcase how good it has become. Give me a second. We have the audio on from this. So this has not been released to the public because it is too good to be handed over to the public right now. Right? But it's a matter of time that someone will come open source and make it available to anyone. You will see the prompts and the examples that they publish. Is there some music here? Can you test? None of this is real, okay? It's trained on a lot of YouTube footage kind of stuff. Stock videos, some movies which they probably copyright, like plagiarized. We don't know. I want you to notice the nuance in this one. This is my favorite example. There is an edge to the dish here, glass dish. It jumps over the edge, which means this software or this tool has a sense of boundaries within glass also. Otherwise, आप सिर्फ pixels में सोचते तो आपको pixels में इसकी value नहीं समझ आएगी, that it will jump over. The patterns of the waves, everything is fairly perfect. You can't differentiate which one is real, which is not. There is a conspiracy theory floating around that this is all bullshit. These are real footages and OpenAI is faking it. That's how much good it has become. The camera movements, the shakiness. Look at these. It's a coffee cup. Can you imagine if just a prompt away, this is what you could visualize? What could you do? I'll show you one more example. This was by OpenAI. There is an announcement by Google VO. Google had a session day before yesterday night. So I've added the latest from them. And Donald Glover is being featured in it. Give me a second. Let me turn on the audio here. No, there's some problem from your side.
We got in contact with some of the
Okay.
people at
We
Google,
got
and
it.
they had been working on something. of
This
their
is a
own.
1 minute 38 seconds
So,
video. Let's watch it fully.
Well, I've been interested in
Can we raise the
AI
volume?
for a couple of years now. We got in contact with some of the people at Google, and they had been working on something of their own. So we're all meeting here at Gilgal Farms to make a short film.
The core technology is Google DeepMind's generative video model that has been trained to convert input text into output video.
It looks good.
We are able to bring ideas to life that were otherwise not possible. We can visualize things on a timescale that's 10 or 100 times faster than before.
When you're shooting, you can't really iterate as much as you wish. And so we've been hearing that feedback is that it allows for like more optionality, more iteration, more improvisation.
But that's what's cool about it. It's like you can make a mistake faster. That's all you really want at the end of the day. At least in art, it's just to make mistakes fast.
So, using Gemini's multimodal capabilities to optimize the model training process, Veo is able to better capture the nuance from prompts. So this includes cinematic techniques and visual effects, giving you total creative control.
Everybody's going to become a director, and everybody should be a director. Because at the heart of all of this is just storytelling. The closer we are to being able to tell each other our stories, the more we'll understand each other.
These models are really enabling us to be more creative and to share that creativity with each other.
Yes. So how does this look? I want to get a few thoughts. Like, what are the first things that you can think of listening to this? Do we have some mics for the audience here? Yes. Any comments after having seen this, especially for the people who've seen this for the first time? Yes, please. Can we have the mic here? Yes.
On. So the first thought that came to mind was that most of us writers are often told कि budget कम है. तो जब budget कम होता है तो आपकी सोच भी आपको limit करनी पड़ती है. The first thought was कि if that's possible with the prompt, तो फिर budget का तो कोई issue ही नहीं है life में.
I love the thought. Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
I
We
thought that
don't
was
talk
the
about
first
this
thing
more.
that came up in my mind at least.
As a writer, what does that make you feel now then? That budget is not a limit. What does that mean for a writer? If we had having low budget films or infinite money is practically the same thing, but so they won't cut the budget of the writer. कि film का budget का issue नहीं है इसलिए. Fair enough. What else? You said use the word they will not. I want to highlight on they later. Yeah.
More scope for imagination.
More scope for imagination. You can go wilder with your imagination. Whatever your storytelling requires, which you couldn't do today, is now possible.
I think also with films, you could make like a hybrid film where you are making a movie with people, but shots that you missed, you could use this.
Wow.
In fact, I just finished a film and there was one shot that I haven't been able to figure out how I'm going to do that. And while watching this, I said, oh my God, I'm going to find somebody who can do this and give me that shot.
Wonderful. You should write an email to Google and OpenAI both to have special artist access. It's not open to public. But if you make a case, they will let you have special access, maybe temporarily. Please do reach out to them. Yeah, I haven't tried. I can't. I will probably make monkeys dancing. That's the best I can do anyway.
Hi. The first thought that comes to my mind when I see this is it's funny that writers are scared of producers that they won't give us work. It should be the other way around, that producers should be scared of writers and directors, that we don't need
Yes.
producers anymore.
Yes, that is a very interesting thought. Does that make sense? Producers can now be technically threatened by writers. You know what? I'll make it. Right? So this is this is the counter to the problem of copyright. Who will infringe it or easily when you could make it anyway? That I think is the counter to not protection, which you should. I mean, there have to be certain regulations for ethical reasons and legal reasons. Those are at one place, but they will never be solved. You've been dealing with these issues forever. Plagiarism is a hard devil to capture. So I think the way to do this was to bring the power balance back, right? Yes, please.
The filmmaking process is going to be democratized. So I can be in any part of the world and I can make a film. It's not that I have to be in a particular part of the city or in Hollywood or in Bollywood, Mumbai, wherever. I can be in any part of the world and make my own film as long as I have my computer in the.
Wonderful.
the
This is a new
process.
one for me. I never thought remote filmmaking could be a thing. I come from a tech background, startups background, and remote working is a thing there naturally. But it seems like for most filmmakers, you can't be very remote. You can do it from anywhere. Yes, please, sir. You've got the mic.
We should also learn to write good, effective prompts.
Yeah, that's a skill that we're going to cover today. We're going to talk about we'll spend 30 to 45 minutes about ChatGPT. Nobody should be worried about prompting as a skill. It's overhyped. So we'll simplify it today, get it done with in 45 minutes. Nobody on YouTube will teach you that because they all like to publish a lot of videos about it and get views. Yeah, please. And we'll take this one last thought and then we'll move to the next topic.
Yeah, okay. So Nivedan,
Yes.
once we give a prompt, how long it takes to generate the clip?
This is something that is right now moved from a few minutes to a few seconds. That few seconds depends on the length you're expecting. So it's a matter of like a few minutes, and for each prompt you can imagine right now. You'll need to refine and iterate. But otherwise, this one is few seconds. OpenAI was a few minutes. You can expect this to be near instantaneous. It wouldn't matter. And definitely 10,000 times faster than going out and setting up a full set and having your actors and following up on them. You could prompt it out. That is one way to look at it. Also, any actors in this room? Do you feel worried about, as an actor, do you feel worried that AI could threaten you? Yeah. So even as an actor, on one part it looks like they could take, let's say model Shah Rukh Khan, and they could model Amitabh Bachchan and then practically take them on forever. That is the dream that people have. I don't think there is any evidence for us to believe that. To capture nuances in acting is something I still believe is out of scope for AI. It will be able to mimic. Will you be able to use it for extremely high level direction? That's something that won't happen. We'll talk about this more. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that is yet to be known. You're right. Right now, you can't imagine. It's hard to imagine that. But we'll talk about what actors will have. Yeah, I think acting will evolve. In what way, we'll find out. Yeah, quickly, we'll take one last thing and then quickly move on. I know you've been raising your hand for a while. Sorry. Can we have the mic here, please? Yeah.
Just to add to his point, an Indian movie recently, Jigar Thanda XXL, actually used AI to generate Clint Eastwood's image. Of course, the audience watching it knew that it is generated AI, but it's already started happening. So with the right permissions in place, it might soon be happening in full-fledged movies.
The concept of extras is going to be challenged for sure.
Yeah, they are.
That is gone.
VFX was doing in a certain
that
way.
you can do right now in Adobe Premiere. So anyway, I think we all get a sense, we've heard each other on how we think about AI so far with this technology. Can we have the lights dimmed again? I want to get the attention on slides. So this was a quick recap of whatever has happened so far. We have spoken about the past. It looks like it's been a century that so much has happened in AI, especially I keep a tab on it every day. And it's really hard to keep a track. So I don't expect any of you to know much. It's hard for me to know this much. So these are the popular tools. In case you're new to it, just take a photo of this and know that you should know these tools. Have a look, check it out on the internet. We're not going to do a tool tutorial today, definitely not. We're going to imagine possibilities and understand like this concept in depth. So we've got in text, you've got ChatGPT, Anthropic, and Gemini, the three big ones. These are the three big ones almost competing, and they're phenomenal. Sorry? So no, they are different, things are priced differently. For example, ChatGPT is free practically. Gemini right now is free for a limit. Everyone has tiers. They need to make money somehow. By the way, it's very expensive to run, and like it's very expensive to run even one query, one prompt. It costs you all. It's like running 10 ACs at once to know, how does Clint Eastwood look like if he was in Indian slums. Someone prompts this. It's going to consume as much power as an AC for an hour or 2 or 3. So it's extremely heavy on the environment. And that means it's very expensive on energy. So what you pay for here is energy. You're paying for the electricity bill of these companies. So electricity is being converted to intelligence through computers. Imagine it like this. This is sorcery, right? So you've got video generation. Sora and Veo are the only two worth knowing which are most advanced at this point. And others, there are some more that I want to cover as a full showcase. Okay, so now we're going to come to this question of what AI really is, right? We haven't spoken and understood it very well. So I like to define AI not in technical terms so much. I mean, who cares if it's technically defined a certain way, right? It's only for the creators and builders of AI. They need to know it's technically right. I wouldn't like to call it a machine, an algorithm, or a software, which is what people imagine it as. But we can look at it as simply this. It's one type of technology which enables machines to learn, to make decisions, and to perform tasks like humans do. And that too, at scale. That is what AI is. It can learn to do things like humans, which means it has the potential to do the best of what humans can do, but it also has the potential to do the worst of what humans can do, because it's been literally mimicked on human behavior. All the internet content we've put out in the form of text, image, video, everything is something that an AI can consume, which no human in a million lifetimes can consume, and AI can. That's why it's a human at scale. It will do the best and the worst of humans at scale. And the question is, what do we do to maximize the best? What do we do to minimize the worst? That's the only question that matters when you think about the larger implications. Okay. It's still working? No. Is my voice audible to everyone? Yes. Okay. So there is another way to look at generative AI. It is one type of AI. And earlier, the AI, which has been there for 20 years, it has been used for making large, fancy data processing algorithms, which means what you hear as computers doing stock market trading, right? AI was always used there. What you've heard of your route optimization in Google Maps, in Apple Maps, they used AI a lot. But none of that was ever a threat to us as humans, because it couldn't do primarily what defined us most. We never were interested in processing billions of rows of data, right? Does anyone have a passion for rows of data, right? And that is what AI could do earlier. So nobody felt a threat. Now for the first time, it's doing, it can create novel, original-like. When I use the word original, it's not in an artistic, original sense. What it means is not non-verbatim content. For the first time, it can create that, right? Internet was good for bringing something as it is. So you can create text, images, music, code, 3D models. You can create video games with a prompt. Oh, this is working. And then earlier we were using it to simply differentiate between what is left, what is right, what is a dog, what is a cat. It was always being used for it. We were all benefiting from it. Is it still working? Check. Can we turn this on? Oh, got it back. Now, why that makes it a big deal is, for the first time ever, we have a technology which we can talk to like humans. And ChatGPT is the proof. Prompting is that thing. What is prompting? It's language. At the end, we're putting in English, right? the way you would talk to your colleague, to your assistant, to your manager, however you would like to talk to them, you can talk to them for the first time. Earlier, you need to learn coding for 10 years to be able to do simple things like, is button pe click kiya to next screen pe jana hai. People were training for this for 10 years. Now, someone like you and me, I've not been a coder. I understand technology, but I don't sit out and code things. So I am very excited. I get to talk to machines and get it to do intelligent things. For the first time, there is a technology that can do things that were uniquely human. Earlier, बहुत ही limited चीजें थी. Factory में automation हो गया. I was plugging the screws earlier. Now a robot is plugging the screws. We always considered that lower order human task. We were never bothered by it, especially as artists. We were like, चलेगा, हमें कुछ threat नहीं है, right? Of course, the guy who was working at the factory had a threat. And then finally, I am most interested in 3. There are things which were simply not possible. And this is where I would like all our attention as storytellers to bring to, what can I do now that I couldn't do before? As a writer, for example, I couldn't arrange for budgets of worth of $100 million for a fancy VFX-laden movie. I could never do that. But now, maybe if it's a few prompts away, could I tell my story simply with sitting at home? At least a part of it. That's the ultimate possibility, right? We're not saying it's possible. I'm not claiming that. But we want to do things that were earlier not possible, whether it be storytelling. I think of it more in terms of entrepreneurship. I literally make my business strategy with this. I've made my business model deck with the help of AI. It gave me a phenomenal draft, a great draft. Beyond that, I wouldn't expect it to do anything. And because of which, there are some professions that will be augmented. Some will be automated. They will go away. Have you heard about the customer service industry? Right? Do any of us enjoy talking to the call center people? No, right? Would you like it to be automated? No, decide. Do you have a good experience as a customer? Usually. Sorry? Better than? So, if a human is 10x more annoying than a machine and gets to your resolution, at what point will you prefer machines? Okay, you will probably never prefer it. You will be patient for an hour to get your resolution sorted. Okay, no, we've all had a mixed experience with customer service, so I'll take more examples. Fair enough, if you want to stand by humans here. I'm taking this example because one, this industry is under threat right now. I mean, there are massive layoffs happening. So, there are concerns here. Okay, fair enough. So you think it won't be able to solve it? Okay, so let's say if AI was able to solve your problems, would you want to talk to AI or to humans? Okay. Anyone else? Pro AI and pro humans nahi banana cha raha hu main, for sure. That is not the right question to ask. But last, we'll hear the last opinion. Could you? Yeah, there is a mic here. I'm raising this because this industry is at the border of it.
Hello.
Where we have to challenge our empathy for humans and how we look at it.
Yeah, thank you. I had come from Pune. So 3 points I would like to discuss, sir. Very important it is.
Is it related to this?
Yes.
Okay.
First is, I met Asha ji's and Lata ji's musician. So he was on the road on the bicycle. So I asked him what happened. He said, see, now I'm not getting any jobs because of live. Because he's playing tabla and all. What happened is, then he asked me, can you give me some job and all. I said, very highly impossible because he did not shift from that manual to the digital. So now, second point, there was one program, event for singing. I'm singer also. So what happened? That singer did not come. He said 35,000 are required to come for that event. So they called me. So what to do? Then immediately I said, I have my music system, mobile, karaoke. Then they said, okay, sir, we'll be paying only 15. I said, no, you pay only 12. So 15 songs I sang nicely with my mobile and the system. So
help us understand what is it coming to?
It's coming to like, you know how the system with that digital karaoke, how it is shifting, see. The person who was coming for 35,000, they cancelled him because very systematic. Very nice. Just I'll go to the mobile, Bluetooth, and I'm paying. So the cost reduction. Then third point, lastly, sir, in the studio when I was recording my song, the person who was there, just the Rafi Saab song was going on. पुकारता चला हूँ मैं. Immediately copied that चला हूँ मैं. Rafi Saab. He put to Ashiki. अब तेरे बिन, within seconds. So it is a thread. And then coming weeks, one more app is coming, sir. It is very great threat to us. I mean writers also. Because that Google, if you write, एक लड़की जा रही थी. So it will write all that. No need of lyricist only. एक लड़की जा रही थी, बारिश और like that. So I believe it is a great wake-up call, sir. Thank
Got
you.
it. Thank you. Thank you. So this is, there are different things that are happening here about different professions being also created, right? And customer service I highlighted because this definitely has some impending consequences. And the fact is because AI has become great at good enough at language and reasoning, which is precisely what customer service people need, language and reasoning to be able to solve certain problems. There are two arguments to this. One is customer service side of arguments. You have to see who is the viewer. As a filmmaker, as a storyteller, you are going to ask this question, right? Who's the audience here? And similarly, a company like Zomato or Swiggy has to also think of their customer experience first. If any technology helps make their customers happier, right? They have no reason to try and prevent, like they are going to come in the way of your own experience. No corporate would ever do that. Now, whether we make it an ethical question or not, that is a choice we have. I'm not saying it's ethically right or wrong, but we have to understand the challenge here, because what will happen is not all companies will behave the same. It's a complete race that happens. Who adopts it faster, saves their cost. And unfortunately, that is what the thing looks like. But fortunately for customers, we all are benefiting from so much automation right now, right? All of this laptop, this sophistication of a machine, the mobile that we have, is a product of so much technological progress, automation, and all of it happening at scale. Only at scale can your mobile be cheap. Try and reach out to a Chinese company who makes products for, let's say, OnePlus or Apple. And we've done this in one of our previous companies. The moment you walk in, they charge you 60 lakhs for the first basic prototype document. Okay, so only because these guys have made billions of these phones is why it's affordable in the range of 20,000 to 1 lakh, right? So this same logic we've benefited from. So we have to be very cautious when saying, okay, all jobs being laid off is good or bad is a very tricky question. So I want us to hold this ethical concern with ourselves before we make a choice. Now, a bit more advanced way to look at it from professions, we should look at it what activities will be augmented. All of us do not do one thing the whole day. We have a set of activities that we do, which make us a writer or a photographer or a data center entry person, whoever we are, right? So which activities of yours will be augmented, which will be automated and practically gone from your conscious view? And finally, which of those will be added? So the job I've done over the last 10 years as a product guy, this role did not exist 20 years ago. Almost at 22,000 ke aspas is when this role became popular, that there is something called a product manager. It was created because internet was created and more products and the companies, they moved online. They wanted a product manager. So that job created out of it. Data scientists, they got created. So TechMed, there is a lot of job creation that happened. Similarly, I'll talk about how it affects filmmaking in the next few questions. We had started with this. We fear what we don't understand, right? And we've asked this question. Do all of us wonder about this question? Will AI replace humans? Have we? Okay, you have not wondered about this. Anyone who's wondered is concerned. Will AI replace humans? Right? This sounds like a, by the way, notice this, something is wrong with this question. This question is doomed to fail from the start. We are putting an intent and we're making it a versus, AI versus human, when we're asking this question. And I highly recommend we stop asking this question. Absolutely stop asking this question. It doesn't help arrive at something constructive. It only pits us against technology. Rather, all these examples that I gave you, if we could all start asking this question, how will AI transform how I operate today? How will AI transform how film industry operates today? How will it change how a producer thinks? How will it change how a photographer, cameraman thinks? And what do I do about it? If we can start wondering about these questions, this curiosity will take us places, right? This is what will shape our future. Otherwise, we'll get into resistance and defense mode, which I do not think is a great idea for technologies. However, when it comes to legal protection, this logic does not about to apply to legal protection. I think what I really appreciate is that those actors and writers, all the guilds, they got together and fought against this idea of AI kind of replacing them. But the problem wasn't AI replacing them. It was more about the producers or whoever is a decision maker not paying the fair share. That was one of the bigger concerns, right? And the other was around the plagiarism as a problem. Is that right? Just to highlight as a couple of things. Yeah. Correct. Yeah, I'll bring this here.
If a writer for 5 drafts is going to be paid, let's say, 50 lakh, right? If 4 drafts are done by AI, and you ask me to do 1 draft, then I'm being paid 10 lakh. You see? So in that sense, for those 4 drafts, you replaced me. So that was the whole also fight about it. It wasn't merely about the fair share, etc., but this also, and then comes the whole case of copyright. So it was that they wondered also that will the 5th draft also be done by, which is what you are contesting. And you, in all our conversations, you have contested that. Okay, but still there is, maybe we will have some, I'll ask you a question at the end and we'll explore it in depth. Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll take this. We have, by the way, a 15-minute session with our lawyer here, Divakar, right? So we'll have a 15-minute session where we'll talk about the legal side of AI and how it affects writers. So given this question, if we start asking, the next question that I ask is to look at history and understand where future could be heading. I like to ask this, what do we do as mankind when we are given better technology? Let's see the past to see our behaviors. That's the best way to predict the future, even if not the most accurate. When we had, there was a time when we all used to walk on foot. We had no technology to kind of even have a wheel. So we would go furthest to the next village. Like, do you realize, except you take away our generation and the previous couple of generations, every other generation before 1900s almost, 99% of the people never stepped beyond their next village, right? That is what the world we were living in. So when we were on foot, we could only go this far. Then we got wheels and cycles and carts. So we started going to the next town. Most of us. Very few people would go. It was a big deal. Someone was stepping out of the house and crossing the forest. There are so many stories that have been created out of these things. कि मेरा बेटा बहुत दूर जा रहा है 7 समंदर पार, जबकि वो अगले गांव ही जा रहा है, तो उसमें भी टेंशन है उनको, right? And then we got motorbikes and cars. We didn't say अगले गांव जल्दी जाके आ जाते हैं 5 मिनट के अंदर. We said, oh, I can now go to the next state, maybe further parts of the country which I couldn't go. Then we had roads, of course. Then we could go even further without our car breaking down. Then we had ships and planes. Ships were there, but we had planes. We didn't say कि मुंबई से दिल्ली जाके आता हूँ फिर. We said Singapore चलते हैं थोड़ा vacation पे, right? So every time the technology progressed, now we have rockets. There is space tourism as a real industry that is happening, all thanks to reusable rockets. That is what technology looks like at its best. We have reusable rockets, which means you can literally buy a $100,000 ticket. आज की price ही है. There's a company called Blue Origin by Jeff Bezos, and you can go to this space and come back. So what this says is, every time technology progresses, we go further. We don't do the same things. We start doing newer things. We start doing bigger things. We become ambitious. That is the nature of humans. We don't do the same things over and over again, right? And that is basically, this is captured here. And now this question we ask in context of art, right? As filmmakers, yeah. Please come in. You want to come here?
Nivedan, it's true. I mean, the examples that you've given are very constructive examples. They've led to development. They've led to the expansion of our engagement with the world. By all means, technology has helped us. And at the same time, you look at technology which deals with violence. We invented guns so we could shoot at a distance. Then we invented, those rocket launchers. Then we invented the nuclear bomb, and 2 cities and millions of people were wiped out. We've used technology to inflict pain, to commit torture, interrogation techniques, okay, unbearable pain. So we've also used technology to exploit, to oppress, to control other human beings, and that I'm not so sure that I would call that progress. Okay, that's brought out the savage in us. So it also depends upon how democratic that technology is. And so in the context of that, perhaps, yes, AI lends itself to a more democratization of technology. Like you said, that anybody can make a film. But each time technological progress has not necessarily been an advancement for human beings, Nivedhan.
No, so this is fair. I think we also have better war technology. So we're seeing it everywhere. We're inflicting pain. That is also true. So every technology acts like a multiplier. That is the simplest way is a multiplier. And this is what I started with. Every technology will be dependent on, it's like the gun will aim at the one I want to aim at. The gun doesn't aim itself. So which is to say, and there is a popular saying I was talking about before this session, that imagine AI in the context of guns in that sense. There is a saying, I don't know who said it, but it says, guns don't kill people, people kill people, right? Which is to say, and by the way, if your enemy has a gun, you better have a gun. I don't think we would want to debate that, right? Does that lead to a lot more chaos? Maybe yes. In this instance, I would like us to hold both of these ideas together, that there is a part which is amplified, which is the best of us. There is a part which is the worst of us. I won't try and call it net progress. I think that is a false idea. I wouldn't call it net progress. Does that at least put it in fair terms? Okay, so I will not call it net progress at least. So we've got that. And when it comes to all kinds of these technologies, one of the things that differentiates the use or misuse of technology is this. Pre-internet, very few of us had access to important information. It was a matter of I'm sure, sir, you've spent time in libraries sifting through some books, looking for information. A library was a sacred place, right? Now I get up and I immediately start Googling away. So internet has made access to every piece of information out there simpler, easier, cheaper. Because of which, many more of us can now be informed. SWA can send out emails and invite them for sessions, right? So everyone, it's not like email is only accessible to the CIA, it's also accessible to us. And same with AI. One of the ways to handle the threats of AI is that everyone has it. It's never-ending debate. There is a never-ending debate about gun violence in US. I think there will be a never-ending debate about AI as well. I don't think we'll be able to ever arrive at a perfect solution on this. It will become a power tussle, and that is what happens with most technologies when they are concentrated in a few hands. So at best, in context of artists and film, writers, what they can do is to empower themselves with this as much that whatever threats we have, new threats that come out, we can take care of ourselves with the same set of technologies. I think that's a mindset shift more than like a philosophical or ethical boundary that helps us here so much. So for the first time, I think this is what differentiates AI from whatever we've had before, is to look at it as something that democratizes access to one-on-one expertise. If you were to ever imagine one thing, right, what is AI? And you can call it assistant, you can call it expert, but it makes it accessible to each one of you. That if you know what the right question to ask is, it will get you a very personalized answer to you, which you would pay otherwise $100, $200, $500,000 to an expert for their time, right? Does this take away power from the experts? A little bit, but anyway, we couldn't have afforded $1,000 an expert for most of us. So it opens up accessibility for far larger number of people than it negatively affects a small number of people. There is a fair argument that experts can have, am I stupid that I did a PhD in this for 20 years, I've been in this field, and then suddenly ChatGPT comes and shares that knowledge with everyone. Well, from that person's POV, we can understand, we can empathize, but the fact is here somehow seems like greater good prevails, right? In this context of expertise being available. And this is how I like to imagine. It's not one expert. I'd like to think of it as a bunch of genius friends. So being from one of the IITs, actually I have a lot of smart people in my circles. And it's very easy for me to call, yaar, ye samajh nahi aa raha, fadafat bata do. And that is a superpower, by the way. To know the right person for the right thing is a superpower. So technology related problems, I can call up anyone, right? But when it comes to other problems, maybe not so much. So it can be a consultant, it can be a critic. I ask it to critique my work all the time. Hey, this is what I'm thinking. What do you think could go wrong with this? Is there a better way you can imagine? I ask it to brainstorm with me. And I can do this across domains, right? That is the beauty. You don't have to know that domain so much. And for entrepreneurs, I show this slide. I don't have the equivalent for filmmakers, but you get an idea that for the first time, you can imagine setting up a business. Or in this context, you can imagine making your own film with a much smaller, more powerful team of this kind, where all of this is assisted with AI, right? Typically, an entrepreneur needs all of these people: mentors, strategists, researchers, developers. I use literally, I have 96 bots that I've made that help me with different aspects of the business, right? Some of them have gone redundant, but I've literally made 96 custom bots that know precisely who Nivedan is, what Future and AI is, what our goals are, what kind of content we put out, what kind of problem statements do I talk about on stage. These are all questions that my AI has all my secrets right now. Thankfully, I don't have any plagiarism concerns. But for someone who's writing a story, someone who's got a genius idea worth protecting, they have to think, yes. And again, if you had this access, like for those of you who look up to Anjum sir as a mentor for your writing, if Anjum sir could clone himself, which I've said this before, as an educator, would you like to have more of your students have more of your time? It's a rhetorical question. But so as an educator, just imagine if Anjum sir's presence could be replicated in each one of your computers, and you could get feedback on your scripts, and the way he thinks about things and breaks them down and synthesizes a whole story, the way you attend his workshop with so much passion and enthusiasm. If all of that could be made more accessible, if not the same as you, a part of you could be there with each of your student. You could be literally like a Casper to them. Then that doesn't sound like a bad idea, right? Does it? So this is something, and then you have to think, okay, now as a writer, how much can I, what kinds of stories would I write if I knew Anjum sir was always there for me, right? Or whoever you look up to. Will you do the same things with AI? And this is the final question, and then we end almost like this part of the segment. Or will you do more and better things with AI? I think this is the crux of how, as individuals, we should look at it. And then finally, if we are going to worry about what role do humans have in the new world of AI, which is what people ask, what will humans do, right? It's a question to ask, yes, because our roles will be different than they are today. And again, this is the same question asked this way, and this, I believe, the more technology progresses, the more important it becomes to be a better human. I think this is very imperative, because with that multiplication effect of whatever good or bad a human being you could be in different situations, you want to make sure that these things which make you truly human, and I've listed out some of these traits, right? Some of these traits. There are many more things that make us human. But to have a vision of our own, as whether be a writer, whether a director, to have empathy, whether it be for our people around us or for the characters in our stories, to have clarity of thought, because no amount of AI can bring you inner clarity. It will use your clarity to amplify it. But if you're confused from the get-go, you're going to have a messed up outcome as well. Do you have determination and rigor to go through the ups and downs of whatever art you have chosen? All of these things which are human, they are not about AI, they are not about any technology. They have always forever been human for us. Do you have phenomenal imagination? I think people who can imagine are the biggest to win. In the post-AI world, people with the best imagination, with the most clear, vivid imagination have an extreme upper hand. And I am a strong believer, and I talk about this in my circles, who have definitely, none of them are filmmakers, is that I'm the one industry that I'm most optimistic about, which will have the most of positive and less of negative. The ratio of that is actually filmmaking. More writers will have the ability to visualize their story, make it come true in whatever format you want. And then finally, for us, it matters a lot. Can we solve? I use the last part a lot. I use a lot of AI for my problem solving. We're going to cover a few examples of this in ChatGPT. I'm going to take a short workshop, and you will see how precisely how I talk to it, with what structure, with what thought, and then you can probably apply it in a more writing setup. Okay. So just to sum up this entire thing, remember that, and these are the things I would, kind of want you to take away. It is not a zero-sum game. It's not like the other person would win and you would lose, or vice versa. It is a non-zero-sum game. We all can gain something from it. Number two, it is not just there to improve productivity, which is what we think of it as. It actually redefines a lot of things that were possible before. It completely changes the definition a lot, right? For someone who was starting out with graphic design is now going to pause and say, am I sure I want to pursue this the same way? There's a pause that is necessary. Do we have the answer? Maybe not, at this moment not. And then finally, these technologies and tools will not have their goals and desires. We will have to fuel things with our goals. And very explicitly, if we want empowerment out of it, we have to adopt it. Whether we choose to use it or not is at our discretion, but it cannot be that we didn't know how to use and we fall behind. Is not a day any of us want to see it. Got it. So I think I want to cover this bit. And how much time do we have? It's 4:20. So I want to take, kind of, if you would like to take up one thing, a couple of photographs probably, or notes if you want. Just wanted to highlight these few things, right? Any kind of change that happens has at least 4 of these ideas. And this is so slightly different from what we were talking about in AI. You need to have sensitivity to the problem, to care about it. You need to have leadership. You need to have expertise. You need to have resources. Only then any useful change happens. And AI right now addresses only 2 of these aspects: expertise and resources. It makes expertise easier to access, simpler to access, quicker to access, cheaper to access. And it reduces the need for abundance of resources. What that means is you don't need a full-fledged production house. I say this all the time. We'll see some tools after this session, which will show you how, there are such great tools which will let you make a full-fledged Spider-Man one day from your hostel room. Forget a house. It is now a world we live in where this is actually possible for the first time. Is it immediately possible? No. We are headed towards it very clearly. So the bottom 2 are the ones which AI helps with. Whether you have sensitivity to and leadership is still going to be beyond the purview of any form of technology. And we've covered all of this. This is what I've summed up the benefits this way. You can imagine and engineer whatever you want. It amplifies what you already know and are an expert at. It can personalize the world for you. Unlike internet, which refers the same blog to you and me, and both of us get 0 value half the times. It actually personalizes for your problems, and it gives access to all of this to each one of us for practically free, almost free. $20 a month. I like to say for every $20 I've paid to ChatGPT, I've received value worth $20,000. If I were to measure it in expert hours, consulting hours that I've received the value in, $20,000. So it's a no-brainer. I'm like, $20, please take it, because it's like I'm saving $19,980 every month. So resources are not a problem. And then finally, these were I want to conclude with the risks. We've spoken about some, but I would like to address these more after the session. We have a law, there's some aspects of law that we want to cover. I think some of these will be covered there. But there are indeed economic risks. And I want to highlight one important thing. The risk of economy seems to be, and nobody can say this for certain, seems to be more of an economic shock, where suddenly there might be a bunch of jobs that will be automated, right? The customer service probably employs a few 100,000 people across the world. What will they do immediately in short term is a big question. So I call that a shock. But it is also likely that there will be new updates in the economy, that there will be new openings that are created. For example, unemployment across centuries is all-time low. Do you realize that? Centuries bol raha hu main. In short term, it goes up and down, but the rate of unemployment is lowest ever, which is a very weird thing at a scale of centuries. Despite all the phenomenal automations we've had, actually more people are employed. There are far more women in workforce than ever before. That is why this number has actually gone up primarily. But it's only because of technology that a lot of people can step out of their home or actually stay in home and work. So the economic shock is what I'm worried about. But it looks like every time we have made some progress, we start chasing the next problem, right? And then that is problem, and then we start chasing the next problem. The world is definitely far from being perfect, and I don't see any reason why there would be a long-term economic problem. Certain fields will get wiped out unambiguously. So we have to face that as a fact, and we should not make that a moral concern, is what I usually like to see it as. But the shocks, there should be probably some provisions for it, so that we can have a civil arrangement in the society. And then it can lead to some crisis in meaning for some people during these tough periods. That is actually a risk of AI being adopted at scale. And then finally, the worst scenario that we all like to imagine, Terminator, that's not going to happen so easily. Even if it happens, it's very far away. That's the worst imagination, right? That there is an army of robots. I mean, by the next 5 years, we will have an army of robots, if that helps. but the odds of Terminator happening are actually quite low. We will have military robots, no chance. Let's not make that a moral concern again. It doesn't help. These are some questions which don't help. Military will do whatever they can to build the best weapons. It just is an intellectual pursuit for us at that point. Maybe in other aspects we can debate, right? But you want India to be investing in these things. So there is some existential risk that AI could escalate some geopolitical matters because of misinformation, disinformation, and those are the real concerns of AI. And I've put in plagiarism at the center of it in gray, that this might be of immediate concern to us at this point, but let's not forget the larger picture here. These are actually the long-term big impacts that we all as individuals before artists need to be aware of and see if we can contribute to making a meaningful difference to it. So I talk about this a lot, not so much in the here. And then this is the aspect of the artist ka concern, that how do you protect the artist, where the question of plagiarism. I will only highlight the questions that you need to know why this is a complex problem. There is no easy answer to this. For example, it is unambiguously right and fair for an artist to say, if your AI was trained on my work, I must get some compensation negotiated. I must have an opportunity to negotiate a compensation for it. You can't impose a few cents on me. That is a very valid ask for artists. The challenge with this kind of a problem is that no technology today, like AI operates like a black box. Unfortunately, the creators, Sam Altman and his team, Elon Musk and his team, none of them have been able to see it working inside. The way we can't see our brain, it is literally modeled on human brain, right? I can't point out that in your brain, this much is the influence of Anjum sir's work versus this much is the influence of Mitesh's work, right? You can't point out in your brain. And similarly, you can't point out what is the contribution of each artist in this sea of art. Once an art form is consumed within the AI training data set, it literally scrapes through the entire internet, ingests it in a large machine, and then kind of the identity of the artist and even the art individually is lost in it. Not because there is someone trying to do that. That's how the machine works. So to know whose influence is how much, who gets how much, is a near impossible task. So while we may argue for our rights for compensation, we have to know that there is a genuine challenge that even technology companies have. Even if they were to solve it, they will not. Someone else will have to solve it as a third party and then say, there are the protocols you follow for fair use. So there are solutions that are being discussed in Europe. The EU AI Act, this is a point of discussion in there about how do we devise a model for artist ka fair compensation, and second, around plagiarism. These are all very fast evolving, and the nuances of that Diwakar would be covering right now. But we have to know that it's very, very great. It's hard, genuinely hard to know how to compensate someone, how to attribute or credit someone is going to be there. What we can catch and must be regulated is to pick up, let's say, if I were to download one of your scripts and then upload it back and then say, aisa kuch kar do, which is very different from AI being trained on millions of pieces of work and each of one of them not carrying their identity anymore versus your specific work. That must be absolutely challenged, and it should not be permitted without fair opportunity for, kind of like a proper contract. So that is where the current stand of ethics is, and the law part is going to be challenging, and we'll cover that. So with this, we can take a pause. We can have a break for the refreshments, but over to you, Dipanjan. Thank you so much. And we'll be covering the next few topics, a bunch of tools and some ChatGPT as well after this. If you want to stay on top of the latest AI news and tools, make sure to subscribe me now and press the bell icon.